Now, the status of an MMA fighter is not something surprising. No, to be remembered as an iconic figure in the world of mixed martial arts, one must either have good results or be a defiant fighter on the verge of insanity, with bright stare-downs, high-profile interviews, and activity on Twitter. But earlier, in the era of the birth of sports, a fighter did not have to be sharp-tongued or beat everything and everyone. There was not so many fighters, but they fought as they should. Today, we would like to tell you about the march through the MMA world of the legendary Kevin Randleman. The fighter is no longer with us, but his memory is alive. This will be the first part of the story about him, so if you want to see the continuation, show your interest by likes and comments. Well, let's get started. Nature itself screamed to young Kevin that he was destined to practice martial arts. He was born in 1971. From childhood, the child could only hear from peers that they were sick. He himself was a healthy and strong child. Kevin lived a normal life and did not particularly get involved in troubles, was a friendly guy, and developed similarly to all the children around him. Sports only became a part of his life once he got to university. He attended Ohio State University, where he became interested in freestyle wrestling. Craving for victories and natural data helped him not only participate in tournaments and hone his skills, but also win the NCAA competition twice, a major achievement. Well, the start of the career of the young man known as the Monster in MMA took place in 1996, when Randleman was 25 years old. Having basic skills in wrestling, he had some success. At first, he fought under the auspices of Universal Vale Tudo Fighting, where he earned a record of 5-1 over the course of 2 tournaments. Kevin Randleman, Giza Kalman. His second fight against the Canadian Giza Kalman is prominent here. This fight showed what Kevin is like in a cage. It all starts with the crown jumping in the cage, which has become the hallmark of this fighter. As for a heavyweight, he bounces pretty high. This is Randleman, incredible athleticism, which will show a fundamental contrast in this fight. Despite the wrestling past, everything was decided in the stance. Speed, accuracy, sweeping blows, evasions from opponents' blows, and filigree transfers to the parterre. And next is just a matter of machine. He beat the opponent with tasty blows to the canvas. Victory is in his pocket. Kevin Randleman, Dan Bobish. And the final of the tournament was the fight against Dan Bobish, no less skilled wrestler, in a situation where only one will come out with the belt. Kevin realizes who he's up against and decides to take a counterattack position. He briskly dodges punches in the stance in the best traditions of boxing, trying to get to the ground from time to time. So far unsuccessful, but suddenly there is an accurate foot sweep from the Monster. The amplitude of the leg is much greater, and therefore it is more difficult to keep you on your feet. Well then, the Beast simply hammers the head of his opponent into the floor. Well, he beats so much that the other one decides to tap. Although it was not painful, Dan realized that without giving up, he would miss quite a few more blows, and he would definitely not be able to answer them. That's how Randleman earned the title the first night he was introduced to mixed martial arts. He had something to say in this format. Instead of words, powerful slaps in the face. Kevin Randleman, Ebenezer Braga. Having shown his first-class endurance, Randleman literally won the right to compete in the next one-day tournament under the same Brazilian banner, Universal Vale Tudo Fighting. Ebenezer Braga came out with a serious feeling that he would win, This Brazilian was clearly warmed by the idea that he could add one to the losses of Kevin, who was hungry for victories, and Braga's attitude was read by his actions inside the ring. They look at each other for a long time, but are in no hurry to go into the fight. And here is Ebenezer's first attempt to get close, throwing a few accurate blows to the monster's head. In vain, he dodges and also tries to hold the enemy in the clinch. The first minute has not yet passed, and Kevin is already literally pushing his opponent out of the ring. If it had been the Soul Blade game from the first PlayStation, then Randleman would have one in his pocket. Well, so, the judge simply returns Braga to the ring. It's worth watching closely to see how Randleman moves. He is extremely mobile, always on bent knees, ready to defend or counterattack. It's an amazing sight to watch how cinematic Kevin dodges the sweeping attempts of his counterpart. He takes the position of the destroyer and keeps the opponent at the ropes, taking away his strength. Having successfully transferred to the ground, he again pushes Ebenezer out of the ring. It seems that he does not see opposition in him and wants a more serious opponent, but this one still needs to be finished. In every movement in the stance, Kevin looks much more interesting, having a more versatile arsenal for each of the scenarios. Fighting is in his blood. The script repeats over and over again. A miss from the Brazilian and a takedown from Randleman. And again, work on the ground. Elbows are used. Braga gets a cut near his eye. The advantage here is obvious. He is pushed out of the ring again, as if Kevin does not remember that this is not wrestling. The fighters are already clearly tired, although about half of their fight is behind them. These were the times for mixed martial arts, when division into rounds was not supposed. They fought literally to the stop, preferably not hearts. The fight continues according to one scenario. Randleman pushes with his mass, harasses the opponent at the ropes, and then he leaves the ring, from time to time as if we were not watching a fight, but a repetition of one segment. The public clearly wants more, and Kevin too. And even though everything had to be brought to a decision of judges, all that pressure and those blows of the monster that sometimes arose near the ropes could not go unnoticed. Even if there was no spectacular finish, he showed that he is excellent in defense and can tactfully, for 20 minutes, beat all the nonsense out of his opponent. Kevin Randleman versus Mario Nito. The next fight in the tournament was supposed to be even tougher for Kevin, despite the dominance in the last fight. In the 25 minutes that they were fighting, he also managed to get several solid punches from the Brazilian. So here, in the semifinals, an easy walk would be perfect. An awesome moment. Mario tries to move the fight to the ground, but he gives in under the weight of Kevin, and the last throws him while turning around. Nito should have gone more strength because he just managed to finish his previous fight ahead of schedule using submission. But Randleman does not change tactics and knocks the opponent out of the ring. It's amazing how much was allowed to the coaches and the team of fighters. Those were practically full participants in the fight, even taking part in the ring with their own hands. In the stance, the fighters decided not to work quickly, solving cases in a purely male fuss. Both are tired, but Kevin looked more cheerful and more active. The denouement also was on the ground, with strikes with his knee. Then with his hands, he forces Mario to fall asleep. He gives his back to the formidable Randleman, which was not worth doing. A few more attempts to choke and Mario taps. His face is now like a salad. He can't stand it anymore, it's understandable. Randleman does not finish off his opponent, himself showing the judge that the opponent does not continue the fight. and Kevin is not ready to beat someone who does not give resistance. In the final, luck turned against the monster, but that's history already. Every fight is a lesson, victory or defeat, but for a fighter, it is experience and personal conclusions. Moreover, he will be able to rehabilitate himself in the next tournament. Kevin Randleman versus Gustavo Homem. Again, Brazil, but this time the tournament under the auspices of the Brazil Open. One-day tournaments are still in vogue, and Kevin still has energy to win. According to his activity from the first seconds, one could read the desire to tear the opponent and forget his previous defeat. The fight would be short, but damn revealing. It is indicative of the fact that it shows the alignment of forces in sports, and I would be happy to say, at that time, but I'm afraid that the thesis will be relevant now. Such fights show the difference between an athlete and a real fighter. If you watch the fight between Khamzat Chimaev and Gerald Meerschaert and remember that single blow in the fight, then you have a rough idea of what it's about. Yep, at the beginning, Randleman transfers Gustavo to the parterre and plans a quick reprisal, but the judge decides to get the fighters on their feet. That ends up okay. They won't stand on their feet for a long time. A beautiful cheating, or just not a very accurate blow from Kevin, who was gaining momentum, and now he hugs the body of the Brazilian again and throws him to the ropes. Well then, a luxurious finish with a real diamond of our favorite sport. Literally one accurate elbow strike, and the opponent, almost losing consciousness, knocks to demonstrate that he gives up. The last fight we're going to look at today happened 2 years after that tournament in Brazil. There, Kevin again lost in the final, which prompted him to take a break, get in shape, get rid of injuries, improve skills in all aspects, and overcome possible psychological barriers. A new challenge loomed on the horizon. Kevin Randleman versus Maurice Smith, the debut of the monster in UFC 19, and one of the best of this sport, is immediately everyone's rival. Meet basic kickboxer Maurice Smith, the champion of not only the discipline, but also of UFC. Yes, he approached the fight already in the status of former champion, but still a dangerous fighter. What else to say about a fighter who showed his place in David Abbott's food chain, took the title from Mark Coleman, and lost in a very close fight to Randy Couture. He was eager to regain the title, but they put a young and energetic monster against him, who, from past rivals of Maurice, was distinguished by high speed and everything. It was not for nothing that the fight began with Kevin groping for the head of the former champion in the stance. If Smith got a blow, then Randleman answered it with two. Obviously, the speed was ahead of the reaction of a no longer young kickboxer. He decided to use his signature low kick, but when throwing one of the blows, Randleman moves the fight to the ground. In this element, he is more dangerous than ever. Accurate elbow strikes, and on Maurice is the first cut. This is the first call. Everything that the former champion had planned for himself in this fight. Any tactics simply fell apart against the backdrop of the monster, who was savvy in the fight, who also took the leadership position in the stance. The main time was not enough, which means there is still an additional round ahead. And if you are asked to tell about this fight in one of the segments, then show the ending, where poor Smith is literally dragged and kicked from side to side by the sweeping blows of the beast, Kevin Randleman. Nowadays, this is called declassing. Sure thing, this is a unanimous decision and the victory of Randleman under the UFC banner. First, but not last. Well then a fight for the vacant title and the most formidable weight class is expecting us. Kevin Randleman had 2 months to prepare, but his future opponent was just commenting on his fight against Maurice Smith, so it was worth it for both of them to prepare. Fight against Bas Rutten, the real destroyer of human destinies. And yes, looking ahead, let's say that Bas emerged victorious from their fight, even if it was a decision of judges. But something else is far more important. Kevin Randleman showed with his fights, and with his interviews, and with his whole appearance that he didn't care, victory or defeat. Will it be a quick fight, or will it be a fight to the point of losing consciousness? It doesn't matter to him with whom and when. He is ready to fight till the end. If during the fight it would be possible to transplant the lungs or heart, then Kevin would fight as a full-time job for several hours. And I will be happy to share with you other bright fights of this handsome man if you support this video with likes and comments. And so that you don't miss our new videos, please don't forget to subscribe. A lot of interesting and cool stuff awaits ahead.